friends, I'm here to read another chapter from The Witches. Today the chapter is called The Recipe. So here we go. I hope you haven't forgotten that while all of this was going on, I was still stuck behind a screen on my hands and knees with one eye glued to the crack. I don't know how long I had been there, but it seemed like forever. The worst part of it was not being allowed to cough or make a sound, and knowing that if I did, I was good as dead. And all the way through, I was living in constant terror of not that one of the witches in the back row was gasping to get a whiff of my presence through her special nose holes of hers. My only hope, as I saw it, was the fact that I hadn't washed for days. That and the never-ending excitement and clapping and shouting that was going on in the room. The witches were thinking of nothing except the Grand High Witch up there on the platform and her great plan for wiping out all the children of England. They certainly weren't sniffing around the child in the room. In their wildest dreams, if the witches had dreams, that never would have occurred to any of them. I kept saying, still, and prayed. The Grand High Witch's dreadful gloating song was over now, and the audience was clapping madly and shouting, "Brilliant, sensational, marvelous. You are a genius, O brainy one. It is a thrilling vision. This delayed action mouse maker is a winner. And the beauty of it is that the teachers will be the ones who bump off the stinking little children. It won't be us doing it. We shall never be caught." "Witches are never caught," snapped the Grand High Witch. "Attention now. I have everybody's attention for what I am about to tell you. But you must be prepared. Formula 86, delayed action mouse maker." Suddenly there came a great gasp from the audience. This was followed by a hubbub of shrieking and yelling. I saw many of the witches leaping to their feet, pointing to the platforms, crying out, "Mice, mice, mice! She's done it to show us. The brainy one has turned 2 children into mice. There they are." I looked toward the platform. The mice were all right, 2 of them running near the Grand High skirts. But these were not field mice or house mice or wood mice or harvest mice. These were white mice. They were white mice. I recognized them immediately as being my own little William and Mary. "Mice!" shouted the audience. "Our leader has made mice to appear out of nowhere. Get the mouse trap. Fetch the cheese." I saw the Grand High Witch peering down at the floor, staring obviously puzzlement at William and Mary. She bent lower to get a closer look. Then she straightened up and shouted, "Quiet!" The audience became silent and sat down. "These mice are nothing to do with me," she shouted. "These mice are pet mice. These mice are quite obviously belonging to some repellent little child in the hotel. A boy it will be for certainly, because girls are not keeping mice." "A boy!" cried the witches. "A filthy, smelly little boy. We'll swipe him. We'll swizzle him. We'll have him tripes for breakfast." "Silence!" shouted the Grand High Witch, raising her hands. "You know perfectly well you must do nothing to draw attention to yourself while you are living in the hotel. Let us, by all means, get rid of the evil-smelling little squat. We must do it quietly as possible. But are we not all of us most respectable ladies of the Royal Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Children?" "What do you suggest then, O brainy one?" they cried out. "How shall we dispose of the small pile of filth?" "They're talking about me," I thought. "These females are actually talking about how to kill me." I began to sweat. "Whoever he is not important," announced the Grand High Witch. "Leave him to me. I shall smell him out and turn him into a mackerel and have him dished out for supper." "Bravo!" cried the witches. "Cut his head and chop off his tails and fry him in hot butter." You can imagine that none of this was making me feel very comfortable. William and Mary were still running around the platform. I saw the Grand High Witch aim a swiftful running kick at William. She caught him right at one point of her toe and sent him flying. She did the same to Mary. Her aim was extraordinary. She would have made a great football player. Both mice crashed against the wall. In a few minutes they lay stunned. Then they got to their feet and scrambled away. Attention again, the Grand High Witch was... So here's a picture of the witch kicking the mice. Shouting, "I will now give you a recipe for concocting formula of 86 delayed action mouse maker. Get out your pencils and paper. Handbags were all open all over the room, and the notebook was flashed out. Give us a recipe, oh brainy one, cried the audience impatiently. Tell us a secret. First, said the Grand High Witch, I had something with Vald caused children to become very small very quickly. And what was that? Cried the audience. That part was simple, said the Grand High Witch. All you have to do for you are vanishing to make child very small and to look at him through the wrong end of the telescope. She's wonder, cried the audience. Who else would have her thought of that like that? So you have to take the wrong end of the telescope, continued the Grand High Witch, and you boil it until it gets soft. How long does that take? I asked her. 21 hours of boiling, she answered, the Grand High Witch. And while this is going on, you make exactly 45 brown mice, and you chop off their tails in the carving knife, and you fry the tails in hair oil until they have a nice crisp. What do you do with all these mice you have had on the tails chopped off? Asked the audience. You simmer them and forge juice 1 hour. Came the answer. You listen to me, for I have only given you an easy part, the recipe. The really difficult part is put something the vile have a genuine delayed action, result something that can be eaten by children on a certain day, but once will not start working on them until 9 o'clock the next morning when they arrive to school. What did they come up with? So here's a picture of them trying to make the recipe. With old brainy one, they called out, tell us with the great secret. The secret, announced the Grand High Witch triumphantly, is the alarm clock. An alarm clock, they cried. It's a stroke of genius. Of course it is, cried the Grand High Witch. You can set tentatively 4-hour alarm today, and exactly 9 o'clock tomorrow it will go off. But if it will need 5 million alarm clocks, cried the audience, we will need each one child. Idiot, shouted the Grand High Witch. If you are wanting to speak, you do not cook a whole cow. It is the same with the alarm clocks. 1 clock will make enough for the thousands of children. Here is what you do. You set your alarm clock and go off at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Then you roast it and over until the crisp tender. Are you writing this down? We are the grandest, we are, they cried. Next, said the Grand Hotel Witch, you take your boiled telescope and your friend Mouse Charles and your cooked mice and you roast alarm clock, and all together you put them into the mixer. Then you mix them full speed. Then we'll make a nice thick paste. While the mixer is still mixing, you must add it to the yolk and gentle eggs, cried the audience. We shall do that. Underneath all the clamor that was going on, I heard one witch in the back saying to her neighbor, I'm getting a bit old to go bird's nesting. Those ruddy gentles always nest very high up. So you mix the egg. The Grand High Witch went on. And one after the other, you'll also mix in the following items. The claw of a carburancher, the beak of a blubber snitch, a snout of a greva squat, and the tongue of a cat spring. I trust you have not having any trouble finding those. None of them at all, they cried out. We will spare the blubbernish and trap the crab cruncher and shoot the grabber squat and catch the cat spring in his burrow. Excellent, the Grand High Witch said. Then you have mixed everything together. The mixer you will have the most marvelous looking green liquid. You put 1 drop and 1 titchy droplet of this liquid into the chocolate of the Steve at 9 o'clock in the next morning. The child who ate it will turn into a mouse 26 seconds. But one word of warning. Never increase the dose. Never put more than 1 drop into sweet chocolate. And never give more than 1 sweet or chocolate to each child. An overdose of delayed action mouse maker will mess with the timing of the alarm clock and cause the child to turn into a mouse too quickly. A large overdose might even have an instant effect, and you wouldn't want that, would you? You wouldn't want the child turning into a mice right in front of your sweet shop. That would give game away. So here, be very careful. Do not overdose. And that's the end of the chapter about Recipe. We will read Bruno Jenkins Disappears on Monday. I hope you're all doing well. I love and miss you all. Mwah.